Will you call the roll, please?
Alderman Conway,
Present.
Alderman Ortman, Alderman Moore,
Here.
Alderman French, Alderman Carter, Alderwoman Tyus, Alderwoman Murphy,
Present.
Alderman Coulter,
Here.
Alderwoman Spencer,
Present.
Chairman Bosley.
Present. We do have a quorum.
6 present, we have a quorum.
All right.
Alderwoman Tyus has to be excused.
Alderwoman Tyus asked to be excused. Okay. We'll take up, let's see. Oh, these are automatic bills. Well, we'll take up board bill number 5 first, since we don't have any. Is Joe here?
Yeah, Joe, that's second.
Next to you.
Board bill number 5.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This is a board bill that is necessitated by a, I guess, success. This is to create a parking district along the 4500 block of Wichita. Wichita is near Taylor. This is near the intersection of Taylor and Wichita, which is, Wichita is 1 block north of Manchester in the Grove.
Okay.
And we have recently had the Urban Chestnut Brewery open, and the success of that has created an incredible amount of additional parking demands. And so as a result of that, we have kind of a mini revolt occurring, and they're looking for the establishment of a parking district. And so that's the intent here. We've been kind of layering these things throughout the ward. As our success continues to grow, we've, we have just a huge influx of residents workers every day at the medical center that's created problems in the west end and on the north side of the Forest Park Southeast area. And now with the success of the Grove Commercial District, we're having problems on the south side of the Forest Park Southeast neighborhood. So this would help alleviate some of that parking situations.
Okay. Are there any questions of the Alderman on board bill number 5? If there are not, let me ask you over there on page section 6, where it says $20, who's that to be paid to? The treasurer of the city of St. Louis, or who's it go to? Who gets that $20?
I believe that goes to the city coffers.
Well, but the treasurer said no.
Person, firm, or corporation who shall park or cause to be parked any vehicle in violation of the provision.
Is it the violation or?
Says
The violation.
Yeah, the
Person,
violation,
firm, or
sorry.
corporation, you shall.
Yeah, the violation is the $20.
No, we don't have a $20 violation.
See, on the section number 6.
This is what it says here: any person, firm, or corporation who shall park or cause to be parked any vehicle in violation of the provision of this ordinance shall, upon conviction thereof, be fined $20 for each such offense.
But which parking violation does that fall under? 'Cause
Well,
I-
they're gonna be given a ticket or something, aren't they?
Right,
Yeah,
right,
but-
but we have set violations and fees and neither one of them are $20. So it has to be under one of those set violations that are currently in city code.
It's a violation of parking in a residential parking district without a permit, is what his charge is gonna be. And I know that we've done these in all the other neighborhoods throughout the city, but $20 is awful cheap.
Yeah,
That's cheap.
again, this is, I didn't prepare this. This is all prepared for us, and I think, I don't know if our clerk prepared it or who exactly prepared
Wouldn't
it.
this be setting a new regulation of,
The $20, I'm fine with it conforming to whatever the existing,
what do we currently have,
Who
Madam
gets the
Secretary?
$20?
There-
Who gets the $20?
oh, it's a city ordinance.
Treasurer,
It would be this, city would get the $20. The question is $20 the right figure for here?
Right, he's
The
finding out.
parking, the meter maid gonna write the ticket, or who's gonna write the ticket, the police? Cause usually when police write the ticket, they want the money.
So it falls under the violation of contrary to a sign, and that's a $25 violation.
Okay, so we should
I
probably,
know, but is
Make that
the
25.
police gonna keep this $25?
No, sir.
Or is it going to you?
That goes to the treasurer's office. If we write the ticket,
Or
then
if you write the ticket? What if the police write the
it
ticket?
also goes to the treasurer's office if the police write the ticket. They turn in their
Well,
tickets
you
to
better
us.
make them aware of that, cause they
We
write a
will.
police ticket, they're gonna want the money. You got to pay the police department.
Well, it falls under contrary to a sign, which is a violation that they already write. So, yeah, it's something that they've written in other neighborhoods.
Well, if the police come by and give the ticket, they get the money.
No, sir.
If the parking commissioner,
No, sir. If the police write the ticket, they turn in the ticket to us, we get the money.
why'd you work that out with them?
I didn't write the laws, I just.
The police usually want everything and give up nothing.
No.
So we wanna scratch that
Is there
20
something in here that says, well, now what's gonna keep him from writing a ticket, a police parking ticket and a treasurer parking ticket are two different tickets?
Right, for a moving violation, that is a different ticket, and that's enforced by, the court system.
Yeah, well, the police go down all the time and put a ticket on people's cars, particularly on Salisbury, I get a lot of them. The police write that ticket, not the parking from the parking commission.
But they have a stock of tickets that are issued by the treasurer's office. and-
Oh, they have that, okay.
Yeah.
What's to make them not write the ticket to the police department as opposed to the treasurer's department if they got both tickets?
Well, we don't know.
Oh,
We
okay.
don't know. I mean, we hope that, and the number of tickets that the police write for the treasurer's office is pretty minimal. It's not a huge percentage of our revenue.
Okay. Are there any questions of members of the committee? It confused me.
Mr.
All right, Alderman from the fourth.
Mr. Chairman, are we gonna scratch the 20 and amend and put the 25 in there? Because that's what's already exists, is $25 for the fine, and it's just us rewriting the whole script for $20, and it should be $25. That's what they already have on the books.
Well, Alderman Rhodey is responsible for the bill, and they talked to him about it. Now, is he gonna change that to $25 or?
What you could do is amend it to say it's a class 2 violation and not put the amount there. Because if that amount increases, then we could potentially have a conflict in this ordinance versus what the other parking ordinances are.
Well, you wanna scratch the $20?
I would just make it a
Fee
class 2
any,
violation.
for, upon conviction thereof, shall be
Guilty of a class 2
Class two.
violation.
Shall be glad,
What line
yeah,
is it?
and fined accordingly or something.
We're on 3 and 4.
Okay,
That,
I'll do that for you.
that's
Give
line
me a
4
second.
on page
Yeah,
2.
instead of 20.
Page
I'll
3.
defer to the recommendation of the counselor from the 8th Ward.
Class 2, just make it class 2. Okay.
Or to the city treasurer, I'm not, whatever it takes to get it out of committee here today.
So what I would say, and I'll just read it off and then I'll give it to Donna. In line 3, after the word thereof be, just scratch the word, fine $20 for each such offense. And instead, just, it would read, and then add the words, guilty of a class 2 parking violation. So it would read, and you can't read my handwriting. So it would just read, shall upon conviction thereof be guilty of a class 2 parking violation.
Can we do that without it going by the city council first?
Not the city council.
We can do whatever we want.
Legally?
Thank you,
Without
Jim.
Elliot Davis coming?
What's the issue?
We paid for it.
Here's what he's saying here. Here, Sean. He wants to, what's the
What
change?
would that amount be?
She said it's 25, and it's actually, she's got a term for it, it's called a Class 2 violation. So I'm just changing the word to guilty of a Class 2 parking
Right.
violation.
It's
Without
already what's on the
specification of
book.
amount.
Tashara suggested that just in case that would go up.
Guilty of a
We
Class
wouldn't be
2
stuck.
parking violation.
You better write that out and give it to each member of this committee.
Certainly, we have other ordinances that relate to this. What couldn't we do? Certainly, we have other
Yeah,
situations.
we have other parking conditions like this.
Sure, and we're going to revamp them all.
Oh, really?
They say 20 currently. This
Oh,
is
they do.
boilerplate. This isn't.
Okay.
This was done when it was 20, when we first started doing them.
I get you.
When did it increase?
The last time the fines increased maybe was 2009. And they're set to increase again in July.
That's why they're all smiling.
Yeah.
Smile.
Pay raise.
D down there. But you're allowed to smile.
You want to just read that off and we'll go
Well, he's
ahead?
asking for comments, so I got to get copies.
Oh, okay.
They can make a lot of money on the hill with them parking.
Do we need the term conviction? Not a conviction.
Well, you don't have to
Parking
pay.
lot.
You're gonna be guilty.
Make this check.
What's that?
Conviction. Well, if you're convicted, you're guilty of.
They determined who was, we were gonna make the check out to the city of St. Louis, the treasurer, or to whom? Who's gonna get the check?
So,
But
I think all the Class 2 violations would go to the same place, right? They would all go to the same place.
I'll tell you, you write a check to the treasurer of the city of St. Louis, she ain't giving it up to nobody else, I'll tell you.
the,
Unless you planning to, every time you get one of these checks, turn it over to somebody else, to the parking meter, to someplace else, cause they gotta make the
Good.
check payable to somebody.
I would not look good in an orange jumpsuit.
Most of us wouldn't.
But Alderman Bosley, to your point, we enforce those zones, neighborhood,
Yeah.
special neighborhood
Please
zones.
don't mess
And when we enforce them, the ticket will have on the back of it where to make your payments payable. And if you want to contest it, all the information's on the back of your parking violation.
Yeah, but when the police issue a ticket, they get the money.
No, they write, so they don't,
No, they
the ticket they would give me for speeding, if I was speeding and the
Oh,
police
no,
stopped
no,
me.
I'm talking about parking now, we ain't talking about speed.
So that little blue and white, and I was gonna make that point, that's a moving violation, and that's one that they do on their computers. The parking violations they write out on the pad that we give them.
When those police write out a ticket, that check goes to the police department.
No,
It don't,
It goes through the same cycle.
the same thing, okay. All right.
I got one.
You got one?
Now, are there different checks, different tickets? The police has a ticket and the treasurer's office has a ticket.
I'll bring one to the next, parking commission meeting, so you'll see the two.
they still
Well, what
go,
if the police came around and wrote a ticket? They don't write a ticket for the parking commission. They'll write a ticket for the police department. When they get that money, I don't think they turn it over.
I think it'd be easier for me to show you.
They do.
Yeah.
It goes through the same cycle
Yeah.
as if our parking enforcement officers wrote that
Police
ticket.
department does it.
Well,
It's paid at 7th Street.
are there any other questions of members of the committee?
I just had
Especially
one,
where that money goes.
I just had one easy question. I know that previously we had talked about these residential parking districts, and we were trying to standardize the actual permit. Has your office gotten with the street department to have, what those specifications are on that permit that they hang or gonna put in their cars?
So when we completed the parking study last year, they also gave us some sample legislation to file, but we wanted to finish upgrading the system first before we took the next step of introducing legislation to, for the permit zones, for the residential and commercial permit zones. But we have a great relationship with streets, and we definitely wouldn't go forward with that without talking to streets first.
No, and that's fine, I just wanna, you know, I have one very small area, I'm not gonna tell you where it is, I don't want the people ticketed. Because the signs are good enough to get the job done, but do we have a standard for what the residents that are supposed to be parking there hang?
No, there is no standard.
So how do, when you give a ticket right now, are you giving tickets right now for that?
We are, in certain places, yes, we are.
Let's don't do it in the 8th ward unless I call you. Okay, that's all I had to ask.
We have to
Great.
enforce where it's a violation.
Well, yeah, I just wanna make sure that the people have a tag that you're gonna recognize, or where should it be on the car?
So that's the next step after we upgrade the technology to make sure that everybody has like a uniform system that we can all agree on.
Okay. Alderman from the 9th.
Yeah, the only thing I would ask, do we have a timeline? Because I have one of these coming up too. And Leonard kind of asked me to put it on hold for now until we get something, you know, because we're working on some other issues also. What I'd kind of like to see is a timeline. Because I can go back and get one that I passed years ago on Hartford, and they've got the yellow sticker that's got the houses on it, you know, that we created at that time. But we probably passed another 15 or 20 of these, you know, in the year. So is there a timeline that we can get something standardized?
So most of the technology is supposed to be here by July. And that's our new enforcement technology as well. And then with the different residential zones, we found through our research that it's a myriad of different things, you know, the stickers, for example, in your neighborhood, it could be a hang tag somewhere else. And then where and who they pay that money to for that sticker, if there's a fee, is also different in each different situation. So we have to probably convene a working group late this summer to start to try and tackle, you know, where are the zones, what do the stickers look like, and what is a good plan going forward. So long story short, probably the end of the summer going into the fall.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
I would move that we adopt amendment number 1 to
Second.
the board bill number 5.
Is there any opposition to that amendment? If not, we don't need to call the roll. Do we? Can we legally get away without calling it? If we have
You need
to call
one
it.
roll call, you need one vote.
And then we can go to previous.
Right.
Alderman Conway,
Aye.
Alderman Ortman,
Aye.
Alderman Moore,
Aye.
Alderman French, Alderman Carter, Alderwoman Tyus, Alderwoman Murphy,
Aye.
Alderman Coulter,
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer,
Aye.
Chairman Bosley.
Aye.
7 ayes vote.
I move that we adopt board bill number 5
Second.
as amended with a do pass recommendation.
I
Previous
second.
roll.
Is there a second?
Second. Aye.
Second.
And then we
Oh,
did a
did she
previous
second
roll.
it?
Doesn't matter.
Did you second it?
He can second it. I just said previous roll.
Okay, got a request for the previous rule. Board bill number 5 is amended, is out of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Way to go, Joe.
Thank you, Alderman Conway.
All right, board bill 35.
There he is.
Oh, okay.
We have to join.
This is a high chair.
All
This goes with what we're hearing now.
A man,
Give her a copy.
Very good call, too.
Oh, you're doing good. You did it? I surely did.
That's wonderful.
That's my upcoming business.
All right.
You're drawing pictures. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Board Bill 35 would vacate 150 feet of a 15-foot alley that is bounded by Kings Highway, Auburn, the Suburban Tracks, and Fountain. Suburban Tracks, you may not be aware, that's really a portion of what we typically identify as the old Holdeman Tracks.
Oh, yeah, I
That
know
is,
that.
but Suburban Tracks is actually a city street.
Oh,
So
okay.
you have Suburban Tracks, and then just to the south of it is the Holdeman right-of-way or the bi-state right-of-way. I know when we were children, there were actual businesses and apartments that have fronted suburban tracks that are now gone. Particularly lots of lounges and bars face suburban tracks. This board bill would vacate, as I said, 150 feet of an alley that will allow the property owners on both sides, as the same property owner, to combine them into a contiguous lot so they can do the upgrades that they're hoping to do for their business. This property, on the northern section of it, on the north side of the alley, is a auto repair place that once used to be a Midas. Then it went to something else. And on the south side of the alley was a Checkers restaurant that was in terrible repair and disappointing to the neighborhood. We supported it. It changed from a Checkers into something else and then back to a Checkers. Rallies, thank you, that's the other one. Then the building went into disrepair. The owner has purchased both sides and has torn down now the building of the Checkers and wants to make it into one contiguous lot so they can expand their business. That is King's, their full name, their actual legal name is King's Food Phillips, which is really the same as the Crown Mart company. And they want to expand the auto repair. And then they have some other future plans for it. But this bill simply would vacate the alley so they could do that. It is a L-shaped alley, so you can see they can still, the refuse can still come down the alley. And presently, they don't come out to Kings Highway anyway. They make the L and go out on suburban tracks because Kings Highway is too dangerous for them. And so I ask for your favorable support. That's the conceptual drawing.
It's very good.
It's very conceptual, but at least it gives you some idea. If you wanted more details, I do have a more detailed engineering drawing.
Is there anyone that'd like to speak in behalf or in favor of or against Board Bill number 35? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we pass Board Bill number 35 out of committee with a do pass recommendation.
Second. Previous roll.
Request for the previous roll? Is there one?
Yes, he said previous one.
They requested it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, Board Bill 35 is out.
See, we can do this.
Thank you.
Anytime. Board Bill 44. Oh, wait a minute, Arnowitz, he's not a member of this committee, is
This
he?
is in the package.
We should call him first.
He was
Conway
here.
gotta stay.
All right, there he is.
Conway's got to stay. Poor guy.
Alderman
There he
Arnowitz.
is.
Don't let me forget.
Oh, you remember.
We're doing 45.
Okay.
44 and 45 kind of go together.
Okay.
Well, Kohler is doing both of them. Kohler is doing both 44 and 45.
Yeah, 40. 45, Board Bill 45, Alderman Arnowitz. We got enough.
Yeah, they got some over there.
Some more.
That's the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same.
It's the
Got
same.
some? Okay.
You found one?
Yeah, for the
Okay.
Mine's hotter. We got the right flavor. You coming?
No, I was just looking, reading ahead, sorry.
This is good. This is what we need. It all works.
Oh, Ordain and Alderman Arnowitz, Board Bill number 45.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Here to introduce, we're introducing Board Bill 45 to the committee today, which is basically it's establishing a public work and improvement on streets and pedestrians and walkways, which is gonna actually be from Gravois to Hampton, going east to Highway 55. And I would like to actually have John Kohler here with me, who's actually helped me with this project, and turn this over to John. He can actually explain it better to you in words we can all understand.
Morning.
Good morning.
The Board of Public Service applied for a federal grant through MAP 21 to East West Gateway, and we did receive an award, which is a project funded 80% federal, and the remaining 20% is coming from Larry Arnowitz, 1/2 cent Ward Capital Fund. And project essentially is shown by the map that I handed out, about 1.7 miles on Germania from Highway 55 to Gravois. And the bulk of the cost involves milling the existing asphalt and replacing asphalt. We do have other improvements associated with the project. We're upgrading all the curb ramps to make them fully ADA compliant. We're putting some push buttons in where there aren't any. We are also adding a sidewalk on the north side of Germania where none exists now between Field and Naxat. Other improvements, we're doing some landscaping, strategic planting of trees along the River to Pear Channel. And our plan, or this board bill, allows the Board of Public Service to enter into agreements and contracts for the design and the construction of the project. We plan to design it in 2016 and build it in 2017.
Will the public have any input in to what it's gonna
Yes.
look like? You're gonna hold public hearings?
Because it's a federally funded project, it is a requirement that we will have a public meeting, usually in the preliminary design phase, and people will have an opportunity to comment.
Okay. Are there any questions on Board Bill 45? If not, I have a question. Anybody got a question? Have you had any public hearings on this thing? Because, see, now, people are gonna call down here to the board raising Cain when they find out something has changed. Although you give them an opportunity to come to the meeting, they don't come. But if there was an opportunity for them to come and say what it is that they want to say, you follow me, then we can say, you should have been there.
Well, I mean, I have mentioned it in my last probably 4 neighborhood meetings that I attend to let the people and residents in the Boulevard Heights area know, and the Princeton Heights, so they all know that it's coming, and I will continue to let them know, and also send out flyers and remind them or letters.
And there has also been one previous area-wide public meeting that East West Gateway sponsors for anybody in the metro area to comment upon all the federally funded projects in the 5-county Missouri County region. So that has already occurred.
Oh, that's good, because I wouldn't want them calling Conway about what's out there, because he wouldn't know what to tell them.
What you might get a call on is, when are we gonna do our street next?
Oh, they'll call me.
Yeah.
Are there any questions on Board Bill 45? If not, Alderman from the 4th.
John, am I missing the boat? I have a project similar to this on Newstead. Am I supposed to bring that to the Streets Committee?
You have introduced that project, Newstead from St. Louis to Florissant.
Right.
And we are under contract for design, so we've already gone through this legislation and passed an enabling ordinance for your Newstead project already.
Okay.
So no further legislation is required.
Okay.
If there are no other questions, I'll entertain a
So
motion on
moved.
Board Bill 45.
Second, request previous roll.
I didn't hear a second, did we? get-
Yes, he said second, right?
Oh,
He,
okay.
he moved it this time. We switched up.
They're switching.
All right. Board Bill 45 is out with a D-pass recommendation. Okay, Board Bill 59, Alderman Arnowitz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Board Bill number 50 is establishing a three-way stop at Loughborough and Field. You know, one thing I really hate to do is put stop signs up. So when you have the residents just constantly call you and come to the meetings and show up at your house, they want it, I gotta do what, they're the ones that elect me or don't elect me, so we have to, you know, if you know the history of Loughborough Avenue, and I say going Loughborough, going east from Morganford to the shopping center now by Highway 55, the Commons, I mean, Loughborough has became a racetrack, even though there are couple stop signs there. But in between Loughborough and Leona, going east on Loughborough to 55, there's only one other place to stop. And the car, I mean, it's just a speed trap. Traffic's been over there, they've written numerous tickets. You know, you can't ask them to sit there every day. So we thought that the place that would make more sense to erect the stop sign is Loughborough and Field Avenue, which is also a crosswalk leading into Crownlet Park from the south side, going across the street to the north end. So it's the people's will of the immediate area, and the 12th Ward and Boulevard Heights is what they want to see up there. So, and you notice Mr. Bott's not here opposing it this time. But that's what the people want, and I already checked with the alderwoman from the 13th, because the one stop sign is actually in her ward, and she was fine with it. So I'm just asking your favorable consideration of passing this bill in our committee.
Well, it's in your ward, I'm in favor of it, but has there been any meeting to let people know what's going on?
Yes,
Because,
yes.
see, whenever a car starts and stops, he emits so
I
much
know,
more.
especially the prices of gasoline.
Okay.
But you know, and I mean, it's really, if you drive Loughborough, there is a lot of speeding that goes up and down, and I mean, you can't put a stop sign at every corner, and I mean, I want people to tell me you need a stoplight, and you can't put a stoplight there either, so.
Okay. Has there been any conversation with the police department letting them know that this is going to
Yes.
happen? So they
Yes,
can
with
come?
Officer Wilson and them from the 1st District. Because they have drugged the radar thing over there a few times.
All right. Was one you ain't heard about that, because they got some tickets, they're gonna bring them to you.
Oh,
Are there
I
any
know.
questions? Any other questions on Board Bill 50?
I've got one.
Yeah.
Our distinguished traffic commissioners here, I was wondering if Streets and Traffic had any thoughts on this. Will this cause any problems on Loughborough?
Thank you. And having taken a look at this location here, we've tried those traffic calming measures out by putting up the solar powered speed contraption to make sure, to try to get, to try to get, you know, the speeds on Loughborough to slow down. Here we also have traffic that's pretty equal in volume on all legs of the intersection, which really makes it conducive to a stop sign, although I know we don't want to put up stop signs for everywhere. So those are those things that we look at. Crashes, we've got that issue here as well. So that's why this one is probably a good location for a stop sign. And we've tried those other traffic calming measures with the radar, the police trailer out there, and nothing is working at this point. So.
Great, thank you.
I would add, just quickly, two things. One is, in St. Louis, people try to use stop signs to slow down traffic. That's not what a stop sign is. But your residents, that's what they
Right,
want.
that's what they can see.
The other thing is, this is in Mr. Arnowitz's ward, so he has to live with the residents there.
Yeah, they want it.
Right.
Alderman from the 4th.
Mr. Chairman, I have to excuse myself. I have a wedding to perform on Saturday and I gotta go practice. My guests are here.
Is that more important than this?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
young people are outside waiting.
If there are no other questions on Board Bill 50, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we pass Board Bill number 50 out of committee with a do pass recommendation.
I second.
Previous roll.
Request for the
I was gonna say part of it's in your ward, you should have made the
Okay.
motion.
Oh, I could have made, I'm sorry. It's fine.
All right.
I'm not a stop sign
Thank you.
fan, but
Board
he
Bill
is.
41, Alderman Volman.
Okay, 44, I think.
44?
And-
Okay.
And that's, Kohler's gonna do this.
All right.
This is actually between Alderman Ballmer's ward and my ward.
Okay, sure. This board bill addresses two bridges in the city, in the Hill area, the Columbia and Southwest Bridge. Both of these bridges are in very poor shape. They are rated out of 100. The Southwest Bridge is a 2 out of 100, and the Columbia Bridge is an 8 out of 100. Both of them are very old, built in 1913 and 1918. They're in significant deterioration states and require full reconstruction. The city has done some preliminary layouts, and we believe that we can combine both of these bridges into one structure and at the same time potentially lower the Union Pacific Railroad tracks and a slight rise in the bridge structure to accommodate the required heights of the Union Pacific Railroad. This is a federally funded project similar to the last bill, 80% federal, 20% local match, with the local match coming from the Union Pacific Railroad, because they benefit with structures that won't potentially cause problems to the operation of their railroad, and they obtain a greater vertical clearance. So this is the first phase of a or at least two-phase project. It is for design and some right-of-way acquisition. Once we fully determine what we want to build and design it, then we'll have a better handle on the actual construction cost, which will be most likely in the $10 million range. That's a preliminary estimate at this point. But this bill is for $3 million total project for design and right-of-way. And Union Pacific, as I mentioned, will be providing the $600,000, 20% local match.
Okay, that 20% comes from where? That comes from the city.
It will be the Union Pacific Railroad. This board
They're
bill
gonna
will
pay the
enable.
city share.
Yeah.
What this bill does is allow the city to enter into agreements with the Union Pacific for them to give us the 20% match. We don't anticipate any cost of city funds to support this project. It will be 80% federal and the remaining 20% Union Pacific Railroad.
It's good, it's not costing us
Yeah,
anything, we don't
hardly
get the
get
tax
those
limit
deals.
off of having a new bridge either, huh?
Well, it's the public's bridge.
Are there any other questions on Board Bill 44? Because what my understanding is, it's not gonna cost the city any money.
Absolutely not.
Yes, sir.
Alderman.
So the $3 million in this project is just for the design, is that correct?
And acquisition.
And
And
acquisition.
land acquisition.
And then the full project cost is 10 million, is that in addition to the 3 million? Is
That would
total?
be,
With building the bridge and everything?
that's in addition. Right now, we believe that the construction's gonna be in that $10 million range. So I will apply for another grant on the second phase when we have a handle on the actual cost.
And then, is Union Pacific agreed to not only pay the 20% of this project, but of the full construction cost?
They have a strong commitment to upgrade all the bridges on the DeSoto spur. And we're, for instance, the Kings Highway Bridge, it will
They
be
paid $5
torn
million for
down in
that.
July. that is a similar project on the same line, just upstream of the Southwest Columbia. And we've done Loughborough Bridge, we've done a couple other bridges along that line, because their goal is to establish that line to be viable, a transport of their goods and Amtrak.
Gotcha. Okay.
Are there any other questions on Board Bill 44?
I just had it, what was the date? Are we still gonna live with that July 1st date on the Kings Highway Bridge?
Well, we have Dick Stockman, our new chief bridge engineer, oh, not new, he's been here for a couple years now, but we'll let Dick address that. He's the chief of design of bridges for the Board of Public Service.
My latest information is yes, that's July 6th.
Well, who makes that final decision? I'd like to.
Well, in this case, it's kind of a long story. There is
I know that, I'm just giving you a hard time, but.
there's a ginormous sewer that runs under Kings
Right, I
Highway.
realize
And there
that.
is what's called a value engineering proposal to change the design for what to do with that sewer.
To
And it's a-
shorten the time frame.
It's a complicated issue that MSD is weighing in on, and we may be delayed even further if MSD doesn't move. But we believe they're almost finished, and we are fairly confident that July the 6th is it.
You just need to know when to be out of town. You need to know when to get out of Dodge.
Thank you, that's all.
Okay. If there are no other questions on Board Bill 44, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we pass Board Bill number 44 out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
Second, previous roll.
Request for the previous roll, 44 is out.
Thank you.
Okay, 56.
Good job, Jim. I don't think you ever answered this question.
What did we say, 56 or 48?
56.
Okay.
Are they committed to the
Oh,
fund?
56, okay.
Oh,
It would be yes.
not in writing.
Board Bill 56, same argument that Larry Arnowitz had. I get a lot of constituent calls. It's a high-traffic area. But what surprised me this morning was a meeting with Deanna, who's going to speak against it, that said that even if we pass an ordinance, she can elect to not do it. So whatever she says that, and I'll let her explain it, but she said that even if we pass an ordinance, if they choose not to do it, they could choose not to. So if that's the case, why do we even have a streets committee? So this affects my ward, it affects people that have asked me. I would ask for a due pass recommendation on it, and Deanna can speak whatever she wants to.
It's in your ward, you got a right to ask for what you want, because after all, if they don't like it, on election day, they'll let you know.
Right, and they're the ones that want it.
That's right.
But I think the surprise was that even if we pass an ordinance, I was told that they don't necessarily have to do it. And I take issue with that, so I guess I'd like further explanation. I did ask, Dave was supposed to come back over, who said, no, if we pass an ordinance.
As long as you're satisfied, we are.
And I did ask Dave about it, and Dave feels that if we pass an ordinance, it has to be followed.
Thank you, Commissioner and members of the committee. So, and just to respond to that comment, it becomes an issue of public safety and whether or not we're going to make a situation safer or not. There may be ways of doing so that may cost more money, and that might be installing the signal in order to get a stop sign to actually be visible to all 6 lanes of traffic. But that would be an expense that would have to be incurred in order to make it a safe type of application of a stop sign. So that was the conversation that happened earlier today.
But not to disrupt, but my understanding is, if we pass this, you don't necessarily have to do this.
When it comes down to an issue of public safety, those are the concerns that are in our office, that my professional license goes back to. So that's where I will have, somebody higher up can certainly come back and say otherwise, but that's where my professional opinion comes in.
See, but my argument is if we pass an ordinance, it's a law, and it should be followed.
She legally, the city council's office could legally, they can make a legal argument and go to court, and take us to court on it. And she, as anyone can, and just say that they're refusing because they feel it's unsafe, but, I mean, an ordinance is the law. But they also, like she said, she can file something, they be in the city, and city council's office could do that.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just had one question, why do we consider this stop sign so unsafe?
Well, and that's a good question. You know, we don't come here often to, you know, discount all traffic stop signs. This one in particular, you know, in speaking with Alderman Arnowitz earlier, we have done those traffic calming issues. We have put up the solar-powered speed signs. We have talked with the police. We've put up the speed trailers. We have done all those things at that location to try to make it safer and calm traffic down before we issue out a stop sign at that location. We have done those things. We have not done this here. So I'm going through and looking at this exact location. You know, like we mentioned earlier, stop signs shouldn't be just slapped up everywhere, and they shouldn't be used to solve speed problems. I get there are other political reasons that it makes it easy to want to do those things, seeing as it is low cost, but it's also the message that's not followed that is the problem later on. So when we look at some of the past studies that have happened when we install stop signs, 50% of those people at that intersection will roll through it. 25% of those people that go through that intersection won't even stop, period. So then you're only looking at 25% of people that are actually stopping at the intersection where you have an unwarranted stop sign. And then for the one guy who has the issue with his driveway, now he has that false sense of security of traffic that is blowing by or rolling the stop signs that he's thinking they're stopping now for me. So that's when it comes down to a public safety issue on me and my license, that I just have to speak out to be able to say for all the situations, this is the case for this location and this intersection. It will be different at the next intersection and the next location. So each one is different. We also take a look at crashes at this location as part of our evaluation for it, trying to determine whether or not a stop sign is, this is a good location for a stop sign or a traffic signal. At this location, we've had, in 2015, we've had one crash at this location, and that was because Laclede Gas was standing in the parking lane there, blocking the sight distance for the folks coming out of Lindenwood. 2014, we had no crashes here. 2013, there was a single car crash that ran into a utility pole, more likely a medical issue. 2012, we had one rear end crash due to construction that was up ahead. 2011, no crashes. So we don't have a history here of crashes at this location. So I'm not looking to start creating crashes because we are putting up a false sense of security. That goes for pedestrians, bicyclists, and motorists. So if pedestrians are trying to cross the street here and thinking that traffic is going to stop and they're not, then we've created, again, that false sense of security for those users of the intersection. We also looked at the volume of traffic at this intersection. We normally want to do it like we spoke earlier on Alderman Arnowitz's location, where the traffic is equal on all the legs. Here we have a major difference on the traffic on Wabash itself is 2 to 3 times heavier during the entire course of the day as the traffic is on Lindenwood itself. And I should tell you the Wabash itself is a 6-lane roadway on the south side and a 4-lane divided highway on the north side. Lindenwood is I'll call it a residential street with just 2-way traffic with parking on both sides. So just so everybody has the layout. If you're not
So when you said it was
situated.
6 lanes wide,
Yes.
And that's including 2 parking lanes, and they're also using that same argument because they want to make it, in next year, they want to make it 1 lane in one direction and 2 in the other. So they're using the same argument both ways.
right, but my question is, so if I'm 6 lanes wide,
Well, 2 of them are parking lanes.
Which when
Okay.
nobody's parking there, they're
So there's
driving.
2, no, that's not true.
right, but my
I
question.
do it myself.
Okay, if I could ask my question.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
The question is, the stop sign will still be in the curb lawn, there won't be one in.
Correct.
So how many feet wide is that street?
So if we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, plus 10, 12.
There's actually an island there.
So we're looking at 80 probably feet,
But there's actually an island there in the middle. So
only
that
on
could-
one side.
Well, that's what this thing's gonna be, is it an island? So there's,
Okay, yeah, Alderman, I'm not trying to argue with, I just wanted to know how wide the street is, thank you.
So the last comment that I have is, as the Alderman just alluded to, in 2016, Great Rivers Greenway is going to be installing a road diet in this location with a trail, a 10-foot wide multi-use trail that is on the west side of the road, which will actually have southbound Wabash be 1 lane wide with a parking lane, have a grass median divider, and then in the northbound direction, sorry, look at my picture here, we'll just have the 2 lanes traveling with a parking lane. So that in itself will slow traffic down in this location without the use of a stop sign. This is something that could be implemented today, just with striping, and we could use some other tactics to actually try traffic calming. We also have other traffic calming measures that you looked at up on Jameson, and that Alderman Arnowitz had used as the solar-powered speed limit signs could be installed here as well to try to slow the traffic down.
and
Thank you.
for what it's worth, I have had the police out there, I have had the speed limit sign thing out there. I have a ton of residents, it's right on a bend. If anybody feels it's safe to try to get off on them side streets, God bless you, go out there and give it a try. It's, you know, some of the stuff we've done, they did have tall grass stuff there, you know, in the median, and they did make it lower now, which makes it a little better for trying to cross. And I agree, 2 years from now, although I know I'm gonna get a lot of issues over this, because we just put all new sidewalks in, that all the new sidewalks are gonna come out to make a wider sidewalk, and I know that the bike path was not supposed to run on Wabash, but now it is. I don't have issues with all that, I understand it's gonna happen, whether I want it to or not, but I do have issues. I know that it's our ward, so we've always done the stop signs as our wards, but I also feel that, you know, if we're gonna start getting challenged on ordinances, I disagree with that one. I think if we do an ordinance, it's an ordinance, and it should stand. So anyway, that's, you know, it's in my ward, and you know, like you said, if anybody's gonna catch flack, or for either way, for it not getting done or getting done, it's gonna be me. So, I would ask that, you know, that we pass this out with a due pass recommendation.
Are there any other questions on Board Bill 56? Anybody have any other questions?
I, just for
Sure.
clarification, so if we do pass this out and the streets department decides that this is not safe, what happens?
We'll find out.
We don't.
And the streets department will issue a recommendation that if a stop sign is placed, that it be installed in the version of a traffic signal that flashes, so that all lanes going across the road will be able to see the red flashing light. Currently, if you place it on the right-hand side, then there's the drivers in 2
The
lanes
left
over
lane.
can't see it.
That's not, maybe it's an island, so they can put it in the island also.
Alderman from the ninth.
Yeah, with no disrespect to the street department, you know, they have sent representatives in before, you know, to talk against stop signs. And kind of the way I feel is, you know, if the 23rd Alderman wants it, you know, we'll pass it out today, and then it's between the attorneys to decide what they're gonna do. And if a bad accident happens there because of the stop signs, you know, it's up to the attorneys at that point in time whether they get pulled or not. So I'll support the legislation and let the process work, you know, from there on. I don't know that there's been one that we've ever held up, you know, in anyone's ward. Although we have had, you know, the street department come and say this isn't a good location. That's kind of for them to figure out.
I don't have a question with that, but one thing I think we ought to do is get the health department, we did that some time ago, to come in and talk about the amount of exhaust that happens each time a car starts and stops and what it does for our children. I think we ought to just for informational purposes, we'll talk about it at another time because that could be a long drawn out conversation. But see, when a car starts and stops, it exhausts almost 20 to 30% more exhaust fumes, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and you'd be surprised at how much stuff comes out of that thing every time it starts and stops. So I think we owe it to our people to find that out. So maybe we'll do a resolution, call the health department in and find out, because every now and then we need to be made more aware of what that starting and stopping does to our children. See, it's not gonna hurt us, because by the time it gets to us, we're gonna be dead anyway. But them kids coming along 30, 40 years from now, we need to start looking at them.
Mr. Chairman, you're exactly right. In fact, the congestion mitigation and air quality funds that are out there with East West Gateway, they are available to cities and counties and states to do just those kind of projects to reduce those emissions that are out there in the ozone. So those are the kind of locations where we're trying to get rid of locations like this where we have congestion, where we have that stop-go traffic to try to make traffic move better. So it is a concern of all of ours as we look at traffic.
Would you be willing to put together a resolution, because you know all the departments, and we'll call them in and get that information so that we can pass it on to our constituents?
I can certainly do that.
You do that. Any other questions on Board Bill 56? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Previous roll. Okay, Board Bill 56 is out with a due pass recommendation. Only thing we need now is to win the numbers to the lottery. Anybody got that?
Yours, we got yours.
We still have 48.
Oh, we still got Board Bill 48. Okay.
It's yours.
Oh, that's me.
Yes, and you have a committee sub.
And we don't have.
What is this bill?
This is a parking bill. Parking.
You have a committee sub that's sent out to everybody.
We don't have.
We'll just need a motion to put that in front of everyone.
There you go.
The one next
But I sent that to the whole committee, everybody got that 24 hours in advance, so.
Yes, you emailed it to us last week.
There's zero stuff.
We just need a motion to put that before us.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
You an extra one? You want one?
Yes.
So, I'll move to put this as.
Well, we need the lady with the most money in the city. The city take that care. Oh, she, you know, they have more money
So we
than.
don't need this at all. We just need that.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to put Board Bill 48's committee substitute before us.
Moved, so moved.
How about the
Second.
previous row?
Previous row.
Okay, we get a second?
Second. And
Okay, then
previous
there's a
row.
request for the previous row. So committee substitute, Board Bill 48 is before us now. We have the treasurer of the city of St. Louis.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman Bosley and members of the committee. I'm Treasurer Tashara Jones. And I'm here to present today committee substitute for Board Bill 48, which is the budget for the parking division of the city of St. Louis. This funds all of our parking facilities, administration, and parking enforcement. You have the board bill before you. The reason why we had to introduce a committee sub is we are also funding the Office of Financial Empowerment, which was granted through authority of this body this last year, which will be located in room 220 in City Hall. So,
Okay, I think first,
Yes.
we need to entertain a motion to put committee substitute 48 in front of.
We already did. We did.
Did we vote on that already?
Yes, we did.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And
Go
she's
ahead.
explaining it.
so I won't belabor you with all of the details. You have the exhibits, which are the detailed budgets behind you for exhibits 1 through 9, but I will give you some highlights. Our fiscal year 16 budget shows a general aggregate sum of roughly $17.5 million. This is a slight increase on expenditures that were included on our fiscal year 15 budget of approximately 19%. And a few things to note, our overall salary budget has increased by $115,000. A couple of things are affecting those numbers, particularly we increased minimum wage as outlined in the mayor's ordinance to increase minimum wage for city employees to $10.10. We also eliminated a number of part-time positions throughout the division and transformed those jobs to full-time, allowing those employees to now have access to benefits. And we hope that the higher wages will result in more pride that they do, that they work with throughout the department. Other areas that contribute, I'm sorry?
Okay, well, hold on a minute. Let's go for a temporary recess while he changes the tape. Because we certainly want the people in the city of St. Louis and the surrounding areas to know what we're doing.
So we can stay here another hour, so
Right.
put the new tape
Well,
on.
we don't want the
Lunches
LA
on
babies
Ken
coming
and
here,
pass
come
me
on, we can
out.
pay 'em
You
for it.
TJ's. Patio's nice today.
Yeah, it's pretty hot today, yeah.
Okay, we're ready. Proceed.
Right. Other areas that contributed to the increase are bank fees of about $213,000. As you all know, we are increasing the technology in the treasurer's office to allow for credit card acceptance and for credit card acceptance, and that comes with a merchant fee. And we're doing this in all of our, we're talking about 7,700 meters, as well as all of our garages and surface lots. Tenant improvements associated with our leases for the Shoto and Central Downtown retail properties of $162,000. We have to keep our tenants happy. Legal expenses with former employees of $46,000. The PEOs are getting new uniforms this year, $15,000. We're upgrading our accounting software. That's a cost of $26,000, and security costs at the garages of $136,000. Just a note on security, we have to increase our security in the garages. Downtown has been a target of a lot of armed robberies as of late, and we have been hit several times. And so we now have a off-duty police officer in front of all of our garages every time there is an event in downtown St. Louis. We're also experiencing savings of $112,000 associated with the new contract for outsourcing meter maintenance and parking violations bureau operations. Our debt service, funding of the newly established Office of Financial Empowerment and tenant improvements for the properties we own and manage, as well as security, has attributed to the overall increase in our non-operating expenses. And with that, I'll answer any questions you may have.
I'm confused. We've been robbed? Somebody robbed the city's parking garages?
Yes, we have, during different events, we've been hit about 3 times, but that has been an overall rash that has occurred with other parking operators downtown as well.
Were the police called? Because I didn't see none of that on television.
We did not put that on television, but yes, the police were called.
Oh my goodness. They robbed the city and they didn't pay no taxes on it. That's terrible. Or then, of course, I just had to say that, you know, because everybody has to pay taxes, but them burglars, they should have to pay some taxes every time they get caught
Right.
and convicted. They should pay some taxes, and if they don't pay it, they should end up having to spend some extra time in jail to pay for it. We ought to do an amendment on that, on some board bill for that. Are there any questions on Committee Substitute 48?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
But certainly.
First, I noticed a typo in section 1 that I wanted to point out. The sum, I think the number, the sum as written in words, I think is inconsistent with the number. I believe 8.2 million is your revenue, but it's listed in writing as 7 million and 7.9 million. So that's gotta get fixed.
Where is that at?
Section 1,
Section 1.
page 1.
Give me the numbers, the line numbers.
Line 15.
Oh, sorry, line 15 and 16, I
Yeah,
apologize.
line 15,
Just
16.
housekeeping things, we wanna make sure we're consistent.
The part that's not housed.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, that's right, right,
Committee
15,
sub.
16, yeah, right. It says 7.
Madam Treasurer, earlier you referred to the Office of Financial Empowerment.
Yes.
I was not around, I guess, when that, if there was previous legislation on that. Could you just explain to the committee what is the Office of Financial Empowerment? What is it?
Sure. The
going to do?
Treasurer's Office has taken on several, or a new initiative to help citizens learn more about their finances. St. Louis has the unfortunate distinction of having more minority families unbanked. About a third of our minority families are unbanked. And this causes families to spend at least $1,200 a year getting access to their money.
Right.
And so the Office of Financial Empowerment is there to help people manage their money better through different programs such as Bank On, Save Up, such as the Employee Financial Lunch and Learn series that we do every month with city employees, the annual Financial Empowerment and Job Fair that comes around April as the culmination events of Money Smart Week. And this will allow us to, or the creation of the office allows us to accept grants from the Treasurer's Office and others for operations. Soon, maybe in August, I'm sure in August, we'll be transforming space in room 220 to a full-service financial dignity center. Anybody can come in at any time during office hours, speak with a financial counselor, look up their credit history, get credit counseling, and there'll be classroom space, and we'll have a schedule of classes that we will do, and that is most of that is being funded through a partnership with local banks such as Midwest Bank Center, Eagle Bank, Scott Trade Bank, Wells Fargo, People's Community Action Corporation, and BMO Harris Bank.
Okay, thank you. And is that included in Exhibit 1?
Yes.
The cost of that, is that the major projects?
That's the
$309,000?
major projects, right, and then the other part, the largest part of that is our Children's Savings Initiative that we're launching in the fall with the St. Louis City Public Schools and charter schools.
Okay.
As far as that change goes legally, that's a Scrivener's error, so we're fine. There needs to be no motion or anything.
Oh, good.
Since the number's correct, the wording's incorrect, we'll get it changed for the next round.
Great.
Will people actually be able to bank through this, or it's mostly just an education?
Education,
Okay,
yes, ma'am.
because that's what they need, is a bank.
Right, so there will be, because of the partnership with the banks, there'll be a representative from each bank there, probably a half a day each day. So if they need some services, then we can
Okay.
refer to whoever's in the office. But we're not saying that they have to use that bank.
And this would hopefully eliminate some of the payday loan kind of places
We're
and
hoping-
that sort of thing that are
Yes.
everywhere,
Yes.
okay.
Since the
good.
legislature won't do anything, we're gonna do
Right.
it from the ground up.
Excellent.
Another question, and I appreciate your efforts on on dealing with the unbanked. I think that is something very important. I'm glad to see your office tackling that problem. I wanted to, this is something I alluded to at a Public Safety Committee meeting recently. There's a proposal on the table to raise the gross receipts tax on private parking garages and parking facilities from 5 to 10% in order to pay for increase in police officers in the city of St. Louis, that 160 additional cops. Now, looking at that and knowing that many of these garages are downtown in the 7th Ward, a number of your garages are as well, would the Treasurer's Office be willing to also contribute to the, assuming that the bills are passed, the police fund to help pay for extra police officers with revenues from the Treasurer's Office?
All of our revenue has to go into the parking fund,
Okay.
and first it goes to pay off our debt,
Right.
then our operating expenses, and then we split a remainder with the city up to 40%.
Up to 40%. So last fiscal year, I know you can go up to 40%. How much money did the Treasurer's Office kick into the city coffers?
Last fiscal year, I believe,
Not included.
700,000,
$700,000.
And it was 40%, to be clear.
and that was.
That was 40%?
Yes.
And that's what we do every year, is 40%.
Now, you can write an ordinance to say that that money can go to the police.
She's got a question.
I was just going to get us back on track. I'm so sorry, I've been meeting, so I wanted to focus on this so we could vote on it. Sorry, Jack.
Respectfully, I would say that I think my questions about parking revenues, given that we're dealing with a board bill relating to parking revenues,
Right.
were relevant and germane, but I don't have any more questions.
Any other questions?
Anybody else have any other questions on committee substitute 48? If not, I'll
So
entertain a
moved.
motion. You got a second? Okay.
Previous roll.
Request for the previous roll? Because we don't have enough people to vote it out now.
Thank you.
Is there a request for the previous roll? All right.
Yeah, that's in state
Thank
statute.
you, Rock.
I'm so
Sorry,
sorry.
appreciate you, Dick.
I'm just trying to get
Use your area as one of our pilots. Because once we start that uniform process, it's gonna be late summer.
Ms. Jones, I'd
Late summer,
like to
early
thank you
fall.
for doing such an
Somewhere
excellent
around
job.
August through
Thank you.
September, that's what we
If
focused
there
on.
are no other questions, I'll entertain a motion
It's just spread out
to
over
adjourn.
10 to 11.
So moved.
Moved, second.
But what I.
We don't have, no, previous roll.
Is that one of them?
No,
I was